Good evening. It is Tuesday, February 9th, 2021, and it's 6:30. You are at the Wausau Common Council meeting. The first item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Thank you. The next item is proclamations. I put 2 in your packet. We proclaimed them earlier this month. So we have Black History Month and Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. I encourage you to read them, I guess, but after that, we'll want to do some roll call. Yes.
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Here.
Wadinsky?
Here.
McElhaney? Here. Rasmussen?
Here.
Watson?
Here.
Herbst? Here. Larson?
Here.
Ryan?
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you very much. I encourage you to read the proclamations in your packet. The next item on our agenda is pre-registered citizens for matters appearing on the agenda and other public comment. Do we have any?
We do not.
Nobody has registered. So next up, we have a presentation. I'm going to give way to Brad Sipple for the Sustainability Award presentation.
All right, so just some background quick. This will be the first award. Last fall, the Wausau Sustainability, Energy, and Environment Committee established a program to recognize individuals, businesses, and organizations within the Wausau community that are taking steps or making efforts to improve sustainability here. So again, tonight will be the first award of this program that will be presented, and that award will be recognizing Aspirus for their commitment to sustainability and actions to further that commitment. Just a couple examples here are they have set goals to reduce carbon emissions by 80%, reduce their energy costs by 50%, both by 2030, and have installed, I believe, 4 solar arrays in the city, equaling about 500 megawatt or 500 kilowatts. And so, with that, I guess on behalf of the city of Wausau and the Wausau Sustainability, Energy, and Environment Committee, I present this recognition of the Wausau Sustainability Award to Aspirus, and they'll have a few minutes to talk about their efforts as well. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you guys for having us and for this opportunity. We're hoping it's the first of many in the region, right? So I think just so you guys know, when we talk about the 4 systems and the 500 kW, that might sound like gobbledygook to a lot of people and they don't really understand what that is. So when we think about the impact of those, so in kWh, which is an electrical term, it's 647,000 kWh, and the carbon associated with that on an annual basis that we remove from our region is 558 metric tons, which again probably is foreign, so I'll put it down to a perspective that makes sense to me. That's about 99 vehicles and 53 homes for an annual use of that resource use. So it's pretty significant. So with that, I think know that this is kind of our 3rd year into our program. We have a number of things that we're doing at Aspirus beyond energy conservation and beyond renewable energy. We're doing some things with our fleet. We're doing some things within our ORs. We're doing some things within our landscaping and many other things. So, Sid, I'm sure there's something that you'd like to share as well.
Sure. Thank you. I'm Sid Cegelski. I'm the Senior Vice President of Finance at Aspirus, and I'm also the Chair of the Sustainability Committee. We actually started this committee back in 2018, so not that long ago. And we had, again, goals that were indicated already tonight, but we felt really compelled to start doing something about climate change. We didn't see a lot of legislation coming forth. We didn't see a lot of municipalities acting. We didn't see a lot of states acting. Some states, some municipalities, yes, but not in total. We have about 8,200 employees. We're the largest employer in the city of Wausau, one of the largest employers in north central Wisconsin, and also in the UP of Michigan. We've got an acquisition, I think, as you all know, underway. 7 hospitals we're acquiring from Ascension, which should close by June 30th. But when we looked at all of our needs, all our clinical needs, our capital needs, the board, the finance committee of Aspire said this is a priority. This is something we need to do, something we need to commit to, and because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for our environment, for our kids, our grandchildren who have to live in this climate down the road. It's the right thing to do from a business standpoint. We've got a lot of patients, a lot of physicians who really admire the fact we are taking a leadership role there. We also see a lot of employee recruitment efforts that come to us because we have a very strong sustainability program. This is good for Wausau. And I think Wausau can be a leader as well, the city as well. So I would encourage you as you look down excuse me, down the road at buildings and your fleets and so forth, electrify them. Put solar panels on them. Become as green as you can be. It's going to be the best thing for you, the best thing for the city. It's been the best thing for Aspirus. So thank you very much for the award. We hope by achieving this award or by being recognized, we encourage other businesses in the Wausau community, as well as yourselves, to take action and put investment in this area. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so pumped that you use this as an opportunity to be a catalyst and challenge other businesses and us to be better. So thank you very much. All right, moving on, we have the consent agenda, file number 210101 through file number 210108. I would entertain a motion.
Also make it.
I have a motion by Larson and a second by Martins. Is there any discussion? I'm not seeing any discussion. Oh, I have Deb. Alder Ryan. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I have concerns about looking at the plans, that there seems to be only on the boundaries, I believe, 20, under 25 feet.
Point of order, you're on.
And what has the fire department determined if that's sufficient for
excuse me.
firefighting?
She needs to stop. Point of order, we don't even know what you're speaking to. This was the consent agenda, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a file number that you're talking about, Alder Ryan?
This is in regard to 21-0207.
Okay, all right, so what we have to do then is we need to remove this and consider it separately. Do I need a second?
Okay. I would
Okay.
request that be done.
All right, I don't have a problem. Is there any opposition to that? Okay. So everything minus the resolution from Plan Commission. Is there any more? Nope, no discussion. Let's vote.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Peckham? Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
We think you were muted. Alder Killian.
Aye.
Thank you.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
McElhaney?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
All right, thank you. Next, file number 210207. That's a resolution from the Plan Commission approving preliminary plat for Royal Vistas. I would entertain a motion by Peckham. Do I have a second? Second by Rasmussen. Any discussion here? Alder Peckham.
Oh, does this work?
I just got to hold it kind of close to your mouth.
Okay, Planning Commission examined this. It's a plat in Rib Mountain that is just barely within our extraterritorial zone. The consideration was whether or not it could have any ramifications for Wausau, and the Planning Commission did not think it would. It's not in our city. It's way the heck into Rib Mountain, and we approved it, and I think the council should approve it also.
All right, any further discussion? Alder Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I have the question, has the fire department looked at the boundaries only being 25 feet to be concerns with fire issues?
I don't have that specific information.
I don't either. You know, I think our fire marshal's office actually attends the plan commission. And usually if there's concerns, I usually get some type of memo where they come and discuss it to me. So, Deb, I can't answer your question right now. I guess I'd have to go back and ask. And maybe somebody from the plan commission can actually expound on that a little bit more than I can.
I guess the fire marshal was at the meeting. I remember him sitting there, but he didn't express any concerns. So that's what I know. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I guess just a question. If it's in Rib Mountain, it must be served by SAFER, right? Not our fire department. So whether or not our fire department had concerns, if they're not the primary responding station, it almost does not matter for us. It's not in our community.
Is the structure actually in Rim Mountain?
Yes.
That's the case, that you would be correct.
I see Brad Lenz nodding. I don't know if you can provide any extra information.
No, everything that was said was correct. The fire department was at plan commission, did review the plat. It is 2.5 miles outside our city limits, so does fall in Rib Mountain's jurisdiction. You know, I guess it's up to them ultimately to review it. But yeah, our fire department didn't have any concerns at the plan commission.
All right, is there any further discussion? Yes, Alder Ryan.
I guess in lieu of a couple of recent fires in the last 24 hours, and it just seems that when you look at the size of the trucks and only having 25 feet as a boundary, it just seems like you could be dealing with some trees, fences or whatever that would prohibit getting a fire truck in there. And did you have any information about the fire from Rib Mountain, what the reports were?
We don't have that information. Is there any further discussion? I think we're
I
ready.
would recommend we go ahead and table this to get answers and then work on it on the next city council meeting. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure that was a motion, and I didn't see anybody second that either, so I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
McElhaney?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
No.
Motion passes 10-1.
Thank you. Next up, we're moving on. Mayor's appointments. I didn't have any this month. Next up is file number 150613. It's a resolution from the Economic Development Committee approving the amendment to the 2017 Blanker River State Brownstones Development Agreement for Short Street Properties. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Rasmussen.
Motion by Neal.
Second by Neal. Any discussion on this? I'm not seeing anybody with their hand raised, so I think we can vote.
Ryan?
No.
Larson?
No.
Herbst? Aye. Watson?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
McElhaney?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Motion passes 9-2.
Thank you very much. Moving on to file number 210209. That's a resolution from the Economic Development Committee approving the sale of 1214 North 3rd Street to Edifix Builds, Inc. That was approved 5-0. I would entertain a motion. Motion by
Neil.
Peckham, second by Neal. Neal, you're going to get a motion one of these times. Is there any discussion on this? Yes, Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had brought this up during ED, and I believe that the planning department had said essentially they would make sure that in the subsurface there was no development on this property due to an old culvert for Stinchfield Creek, which had its share of problems. Just for comfort level, could we get an assurance of that tonight once again, please?
I would invite maybe I'm looking at whether or not it should be Brad or Sean, but Sean Fitzgerald from our Economic Development Manager.
Thank you. And thank you, Alder McKillen, for that question. Again, yes, that'll be addressed in the permitting process. Right now, the proposed use from the developer acquiring the property is to put some garages on there and essentially a driveway parking lot to accommodate 4 vehicles maximum for the rental property that's adjacent. But yes, the permitting process would not allow that because of that subterranean structure.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Brad, I'm guessing that all seems legit to you too. Okay. Any further discussion or questions on this? Alder Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I just find this kind of contradictory about the permits when we discussed about the Thomas Street properties, that there was no, according to the legal information that I thought I understood, there was no way to put any type of restrictions on the deed so that anything could end up being built in the future. And I would think within the deed, you could put that information sort of tie it in and not necessarily just in the permit process. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I think we're ready to vote.
McElhaney? Wadinski?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
No.
Motion passes 10-1.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to file number 191109. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee authorizing the 2020 budget modification for emergency storm sewer repair. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen, second by Herbst. Is there any discussion? I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham? Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinski?
Aye.
McElhaney? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Moving on to file number 201109, a resolution from the Finance Committee authorizing the 2021 budget modification for purchase of LED lighting for the McClellan ramp. Do I have a motion? Motion by Herbst. Do I have a second? Second by Wadinski. Any discussion? Alder Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. In looking at the savings in the 2020 budget due to quite a bit on the pandemic, a number of departments are looking at savings so to have them used for certain purposes. And I understand that there has been some bulbs set that were the wrong size and that are a considerable discount. And so that it's advantageous on this, but that we as a council had said we were going to be looking at all of the surplus, hopefully come March, and then having all of those funds and then looking at what the high priority are and then to make that decision. And I do feel like it's something that even though the departments have recommendations, that we need to look at the surplus overall for the whole city and see what the best purpose is. My concern about the LED lighting is that, yes, this is for a ramp, but we should also be looking at ways to save overall on LED lighting on municipal buildings, especially City Hall, and as well as looking at ways to get LED lighting within our street lights within our neighborhoods. So this is only a small portion of LED lighting, but that we really should be looking at this, and that with upgraded LED lighting, we could be doing a savings about 85% annually on electrical costs. So I do recommend this, but I do feel that we need to, as a committee, look overall at these surplus projects or and making a decision for the benefit of the overall city and not necessarily just for certain departments. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to remind everyone that this is a 2021 budget modification. I don't know, Finance Director Grote, if you had any more to add.
I was just going to clarify that the proposal here is to take money out of certain budget accounts in 2021 to fund that 2021 acquisition. So it has nothing to do with the surplus of 2020. And that this would be our final ramp then that we're converting to LED, and that the 2021 budget did have $75,000 in the capital budget to fund the conversion of street lights. So,
Thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I guess to be clear, it's not that we're not talking about LED light conversions in the city, but we're not talking about them in the Finance Committee. We're talking about them in the SISM Committee. Alder Ryan also serves on that committee. We have just undertaken some dialogue with Public Service about converting streetlights in maybe a sector-type approach. They are not staffed to do that on a large-scale basis. However, our engineers are going to be working with them to see if we can do that retrofit and tie it into our street projects every year so that street by street, as they get done, the conversion of existing telephone poles can be done or electrical poles can be done. And so obviously LED conversion is cheaper to run and the bulbs last longer and there's all kinds of benefits, but it's not that those conversations aren't happening. They just aren't happening in finance. So we're on top of that though in SISM. Thanks.
Is there any further discussion? I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
McElhaney?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. Moving on to file number 210206. It's an ordinance from the Plan Commission rezoning 2025 County Road U from a suburban mixed-use zoning district to a light industrial zoning district. Do I have a motion? Motion by Peckham. Do I have a second? Second by Wadinsky. Is there any discussion on this? Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two questions. The first is, in the map, in the packet, there is a nearby parcel that is zoned, I believe, industrial. Could I please get the year that that parcel was zoned industrial? And then second, I guess my question for the older person is, there was an objection from a family nearby on a residential property. Has that objection been withdrawn? Thank you.
Right, thank you. I think maybe Brad Lenz, do you have any info on the rezoning of the other parcel?
Sure. I can address the first question.
Thank you.
As Alder Killian probably knows, the city undertook a citywide rezoning 2019 that became effective on January 1st of 2020. So that's when the new zoning was established. That property has historically been industrial, so I don't know, how long it's been there off the top of my head. Our previous zoning was established in 1967, so assuming that business goes back to that date, I would estimate that's when that zoning's from.
Okay, thank you. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. Parcels in my district, I've had contact with those residents, and I've also referred them to our city planner, Brad Lentz. First, there was initial opposition to the idea of rezoning because they weren't sure what was going there in the first place. Upon finding out that that was K&M Electric and understanding what their operation actually entails, the email that I had exchanged back and forth with the citizen seemed to think that they were accepting of that land use for that particular business because they don't operate, at odd hours. They don't create a lot of noise and pollution and smells and, things that you normally associate with industry. So since our city planner conversed with the citizen, I've not heard any further opposition from them.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, I'm not seeing any. I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
No.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinski?
Aye.
McElhaney?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Larson?
No.
Ryan?
No.
Motion passes 8-3.
Thank you. Next item, we're asked to suspend the rules for the next item. The Rule 2A, referral of resolutions. This requires a 2/3 vote majority. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Rasmussen. Do I have a second? Second by Peckham. Ready to vote on that one?
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinski?
Aye.
McElhaney? Aye. Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
All right, thank you very much. We are now on to file number 210208. It's a resolution from the Public Health and Safety Committee urging state legislators to oppose the passage of state legislation affecting the sale of alcohol beverages. Do I have a motion? Motion by Rasmussen. Do I have a second? Second by Herbst. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. This actually came up in Public Health and Safety because there's legislation circulating down in Madison. Started out as one bill, it's now become 3 bills as it's gained some momentum surrounding cocktails to go. And I'm sure a number of you have followed some of the media reports about that. The worst part of this state legislation is that it completely usurps local control, and it sets a dangerous precedence to continue to usurp local control in the management of alcohol licensing. So state statute under Chapter 125 gives municipalities broad powers to manage licenses. So that includes restricting licenses, but it also includes granting them temporary privileges. And so you'll recall last spring, we did all kinds of changes to help our businesses, to help grocers, to help taverns. Dining in the street, dining outside, increasing the size of their premises, letting them use their parking lots. We've enabled curbside delivery of alcoholic beverages for grocers. We've allowed sealed containers to be sold by our Class B license holders and delivered curbside as well. All of those things we're able to do that because we have local control. We don't need top-down legislation from the state to make those things possible. And so as soon as the state starts to tip its toe into our lane of operation, that sets a precedent, and then even absent a pandemic, every time somebody somewhere doesn't get what they want at the local level, they're going to go and run to their state legislature, and we're going to get stomped on again. And so we need home rule, and local control is key in managing these licenses. We've managed them effectively forever, and we need to be able to continue to do that to the maximum level possible. The city of Milwaukee has also joined this fight with us. They see it exactly the same way that we do. Local communities are best able to work with their businesses, with their license holders, with their chambers. We know what our communities need, and we can work with them effectively and much, much faster. And every other community in the state has the same power that we have, and they should be using it. And if they're not, that's on them. But that does not mean that we should allow the state legislature to dictate what's allowed under these licenses. Because when we did it here, we put on some key guardrails, guideposts. We made sure that the item is transported out of reach of the driver, that there's verification of the age of the person buying it and the pickup driver if they're two different people. We made it temporary. We put a sunset on it. So if the pandemic continues, we can extend it, but for now, it's not forever. Those provisions don't exist in these state bills. So once this gets underway at the state level, it's never going back. And I think that's a huge mistake. We've been able to do these things to help our businesses during the pandemic without increasing underage access to alcohol, which we can all agree is a bad thing. And we've also been able to do it without creating a backslide in the progress we've made in our alcohol culture in central Wisconsin since 2010. And it's because we made the changes carefully, but the changes we made were effective. And so to continue to work with our businesses, we need state government out of this process. And, you know, what this really is, and this proposal, all of these proposals, are backed heavily by the Tavern League of Wisconsin for a reason. And what this is it's an opening up of state control under the veil of pandemic relief. We can help our businesses through the pandemic without this. So I'm hoping that we all oppose this, because control of alcohol licensing needs to rest in this chamber, not in Madison. So thank you.
Thank you. I guess I'll add a little bit of color to this as well. Today we met as the League of Municipalities and we talked about this, and there was broad opposition to kind of the creep of the state into local control here. And, you know, I also talked to one of our local assembly folks, and she let me know that there were some gaps in this legislation that needed to be fixed. So this is the right call. Everybody on the League of Municipalities call wanted a copy of our resolution once we passed it, and I'm sure it will be spread out through the state. So just throwing that out there too. Yes, Alder Neal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I'm hearing two different arguments here. One is for local control versus, that top-down state control, and I agree with that, and I think that's a valid argument. It's also, though, couched in some terminology. Some of the comments I saw in our packet, were regarding, things like, drinking while driving and controlling access to, people of age and things of this nature, which seem to me a little bit, sort of stretching, our concerns on this particular thing. Right now, by state law, and I don't know if we have a local ordinance that's against it, I doubt that we do, but if I go to a restaurant and order a bottle of wine with dinner, and, we don't finish that wine, then legally the restaurant can cork it for us, and we can carry it with us and take it with us to our car and drive home with it. That's legal. The verbiage in that also talked about, in the proposal at the state level about sealing and, with tamper-resistant type tops. And I think that's a good idea. But, because right now, though, I can go to a brew pub here in Wausau, and I can take them an empty growler, and they will clean it out and refill it and cap it and put tape around it and give it back to me, and I can take it to my car and I can drive home with it. Truth be told, if I wanted to, I could sit in the driver's seat and I could pull off the tape and take off the cap and have a swig. Same thing with that corked bottle of wine. I think that if we insist on exerting our local control, which I think is good, we need to be open to reasonable control. If there are businesses in our town that do a particularly good job of some particular cocktail, let's say, that they're famous for, and there's a demand for, and somebody wants to order that with their to-go meal, then I seriously think it should be able to be given to them in a safe container, something like that growler with a top and tape around it so it's tamper resistant. And if I got pulled over, it would obviously be, shown if I had tampered with that top, because the tape would have been removed or whatever, and it would have been visibly obvious. So, yeah, if we vote this down, I hope to see we turn right around, though, and vote in basically our local version of that, and not overstep it and have things in there that I think run counter to what's already practiced out there, like the corked bottle of wine, like the refilled bottle growler. So let's not overdo this. Let's not get into an anti-alcohol type stance when it should be a pro-business stance. So that's where I'm standing on it. If anybody can give me feedback on that from public health and safety, I'd like that, because I'm a little concerned about the double argument.
Sure, Alder Rasmussen has her light on, and then Alder Killian on. You'll be after Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. We actually already have provisions in place where our Class B beer and liquor license holders can sell beverages in sealed containers for off-premises consumption. So as an example, if you think about, when there's not a pandemic, when the concert's going on the 400 block, a lot of our bars that abut the 400 block sell mixed drinks to be consumed on the 400 block, and what they do is they mix the entire drink except for the alcohol. They sell the alcohol in a sealed container. The bar patron then can take it across the street and they mix it themselves. And that happens year-round, pandemic or not. We've also allowed for that process to happen curbside for our license holders. And we've also allowed temporarily click and collect, where you can now, if you're going to pick up your groceries in a to-go type environment, you can get your alcohol that way as well. And we enabled that at the request of our grocery stores. So that can happen. And when I talk about guideposts and guardrails, I don't want some extreme anti-alcohol policy either. But what I do want is some guardrails that say that I can't go online and purchase something and send my 16-year-old son to pick it up and nobody checks. And so we do it right at the local level, and our vendors do it right at the local level. But that doesn't mean that you throw the door open statewide and pull out all the stops to make this stuff happen just because we're in the middle of a pandemic. There has to be care and caution taken when you start to approve stuff like this. We can certainly have those discussions, and I expect that this spring we're going to have a dozen of these discussions again, because obviously the pandemic is still here. But today, we really don't need that coming from the state level and setting us down that path where they're going to open up everything they want to open up, and where we are then left to deal with the fallout. So let's keep that control local. With that, you'll notice in your packets you have version 1 and version 2. The reason there's a version 2 is because after public health and safety met, the other bill came out. So I am amending our motion on the floor, making a motion that we approve version 2 as it's shown in your packets, because that encompasses the 2 bills that we're concerned about. There is a third bill that we are not opposing, and that bill allows for the online purchase of alcohol to be home delivered, like grocery delivery. That's between the seller and the homeowner or wherever it's going. That's not, we're concerned about transportation and mixing of alcohol and vehicles. And so these 2 proposals that are in version 2 take care of that, and we don't need to worry about number 3.
Okay, so I have a motion to amend the resolution to version 2.
To pick version 2, yes.
So I guess I would, before we continue discussing, I would take a second to that motion, second by Herbst. Is there any discussion on this amendment to version 2? Yes, Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and just as a point of inquiry as well, if there would be further amendment to what's on the floor, would I have to wait until this has undergone a vote, or can that amendment be brought forth sooner?
If you were amending the amendment, you could do that now, but if we were just amending it to add in that version 2 language, and then maybe that would be a more appropriate time to offer your amendment, if that works.
That would be fine if it's deemed more appropriate. At this time, I would, since it was the prelude to this amendment, address some sentiments from my colleagues that I thought were, points that had merit. Alder Neal had brought up the language revolving around alcohol and motor vehicle use and so forth. From my perspective, I wouldn't necessarily like to see the language changed. I would like to see, and we can get to this, as you mentioned, in the near future, but I'd like to see perhaps redoubled efforts from the municipality and the Public Health and Safety Committee on looking for additions to alcohol and alcoholism treatment and to seek eligible funds for doing so. And I don't think that's anti-business or anti-alcohol. We're in Wisconsin. I think there's a trinity here in Wisconsin that would be cheese, the Packers, and alcohol. And certainly of the last, in my salad days, I had consumed copious amounts myself. But I think that when it comes to talks of alcohol and alcoholism and vehicle safety, we can do more as a municipality to see that our citizens who desire it have treatment. And I think it's time to walk the talk on that, or else cork it, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I have my parliamentarian here. Is there? Okay, all right. Yes, Alder, what we will do is we'll vote on the amended language first, and then we will be open to more amendments. Yes, Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. The city's jurisdiction with the management of alcohol licensing really rests with policy making. You either approve them with restrictions, you approve enabling provisions, you approve or deny licensing, you can suspend them, you can non-renew them, you can revoke them. But on the treatment end, the alcohol subject in general is a two-pronged approach, supply and demand. And so the treatment end of it always has been kind of in the wheelhouse of the Marathon County AOD Coalition and the county's Health and Human Services environment. And so, and NCHCC and those agencies that deliver that treatment. The city has not stepped into the realm of funding or finding treatment or facilitating treatment or underpinning the treatment end. We work on the enforcement end and the licensing control end. And on the policy side, since 2010, we've enacted policies that have dramatically changed Marathon County's alcohol culture, which was nothing to be proud of back then. So we've found a way to hold license holders and servers accountable. We've found ways to address underage access. In fact, we, along with 2 other Wisconsin communities, led the pack on that statewide. And I've been all over the state to speak about our commitment to that process and the changes we made to inspire other communities to make those same changes, and many of them have. But we have to attack it where we fit in the solution matrix, and the treatment end isn't always our bailiwick. So just some background.
Thank you. All right, so it appears there is no more discussion. We're voting right now on amending the resolution to include that additional language for the second bill. I think we're ready to vote on that.
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinsky?
Aye.
McElhaney? Aye. Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
I think you're on mute, Alder Ryan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes 11-0.
All right, so what we have before us is the amended language, the resolution. Alder Killian.
Yes, Madam Chair, would this be the appropriate time then to amend the amended resolution?
Yes, we are open for amendments.
Thank you. I would support this, but I'd like to, and really there's there's no harm done in doing this because there's no cost or any consequence or what have you. I'd like to just amend that because it was a good point that was brought up by my colleagues, the types of subjects that, these discussions inspire. I'd just like to amend it to also then, in addition to this, have a discussion in public health and safety about redoubled efforts for alcohol and alcohol treatment and methods in which the city can facilitate that. I appreciated Alder Rasmussen's summary. It was a good history, and of course, I'm rather new in my district, so having that background was very useful. But I think one benefit this body has today that it didn't have perhaps yesterday was the ability to change the way we have done things historically. So in terms of the matrix and our role in that, I say we tell NEO that we're ready to jump into that matrix and start the discussion that of redoubled efforts facilitating alcohol treatment. And so it just seems like it would be a positive and pertinent amendment to what we have on the floor. Thank you.
All right, so what I've perceived to be the amendment you're suggesting is maybe another, be it further resolved, that the Public Health and Safety Committee redoubles their effort to study alcohol treatment options for Wisconsin or Wausau residents? Is that?
Yes, I think that's very eloquently worded, Madam Chair. That will suffice. Thank you.
Okay, we have a request for an amendment. Is there a second? Anyone for a second? Okay, I think that amendment dies for lack of a second. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. We have to keep in mind that this resolution is being sent to state legislators, asking them to specifically take one action, and it's to oppose these bills. What we do locally is a totally different conversation, and without an amendment, I don't think we need an amendment because the Public Health and Safety Committee can take up that discussion whenever it wants without the council telling them to do it. So if Alder Killian is interested in us having a conversation in the committee that takes stock of where we're at today locally with what treatment's out there, and if we fit anywhere in the mix, we can have that discussion separate. We can just put that on an agenda for an upcoming meeting.
Okay, so is there any further discussion or amendments? Alder Neal.
Thank you. And yes, I know we're not going to be going into any detail about what we might do here locally, and this might be all moot if this indeed does go through at the state level, regardless of what we do in terms of voicing our opposition to it. I just want to be on record here publicly that if it does fail at the state level, that I want us to move quickly here at the local level, and I want us to address one of the key words I read in the proposal, which was referred to cocktails. Now, yes, down at the 400 block in the summer, I can walk into Malarkey's and they'll give me some cranberry juice on ice and a little bottle of vodka that's sealed, and I can go over to the park and I can open that and make my simple drink. And that's true, and that does not change. But my concern is in the art of cocktails, there's a whole other world out there of craft cocktails that some businesses pride themselves on, and some of their customers really appreciate. And they might miss that special drink because they're not going out. And what I want to make sure that we do at the local level, if this does not pass at the state level, is that we immediately deal with that key question of cocktails and make allowances for the ability for a business to mix a cocktail, alcohol included, to put it in a safe container that is tamper resistant and is able to be transported just like a corked bottle of a half bottle of wine or a refilled growler or anything else from of a packaged nature that I can buy legally. So I just don't want this all of a sudden to be a red-headed stepchild to get some weird special treatment. It is just as valid, a business and consumer consideration that we should be able to handle with reasonable guidelines and not stifle it by overreacting. Thank you.
Thank you. I do see the Chair of Public Health and Safety taking notes. It looks like there'll be a robust discussion following this. Is there any more discussion here? Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'd like to thank Alder Rasmussen for those comments about being able to take this up separately in public health and safety. I think that sounds perfectly reasonable to me, and I will still support this. But given the long-standing challenge with alcoholism in our community, particularly when there's no consequence in doing so, I do think it's time to have that conversation in the near future and how the city can help residents who are dealing with alcoholism seek and acquire treatment. So, Alder Rasmussen's point is noted. It makes sense, and I look forward to discussing that more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All right, we are ready to vote on the amended version of this resolution that includes information on that second bill.
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinski?
Aye.
McElhaney? Aye. Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Larson?
You're muted.
Aye.
Thank you.
Ryan?
Also muted.
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you very much. This will see itself to the League of Municipalities and also our state legislature. Thank you. All right, moving on. We are at our addendum. Next up is file number 210210. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee authorizing the mayor to formally join the Guaranteed Income Research Project through Mayors for a Guaranteed Income and the University of Pennsylvania School of Social Policy and Practices Center for Guaranteed Income Research and accepting $100,000 in grant funding to start a pilot MGI program in the city. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Peckham. Do I have a second? Second by Watson. Is there any discussion here? Oh, I see a couple of, yes, Alder McElhaney.
Great. I have some questions. I read this, and I guess my question is, what are the goals met? What are the parameters of this study? I don't see any of that, and I worry, are we putting the horse before the cart? Like, we're going to do it, and then how do we know if it's a success or not? And usually when I go for grants, I usually have an idea of what I want. These are the parameters. This will be a win. This will not be a win. This is a success. Who's going to be, who is our target people that will participate? Who's going to determine, those people? Who are going to decide what is a success or not? I didn't see any of that, and I just was wondering if we have any of those type of answers.
Sure. So this resolution is authorizing me to say, all right, MGI, we are in, and they've already said that we qualify for $100,000. And what they are going to ask from us is a plan. So what happens next is I will work likely with Community Development Manager Tammy Stratz and some other folks from nonprofit agencies who deal with poverty and those populations, and we'll develop criteria for who can be involved in this program. Likely, we'll look at ALICE metrics, so those folks that are they have incomes, they're working, but they're not making what they need to get by very well. So that will be on us. We will be developing the program locally. We'll be able to I'll probably look at maybe what Madison's doing. They're focusing on housing, but that will be us, and we'll be developing the criteria. We'll be developing a win, but basically, this is about giving the people who are involved in this program $500 a month for a year or year and a half. So like that is the metric that MGI gave to us, and we have to develop the criteria. And assuming our plan is good, we could qualify for up to $500,000 for this program. So that's why our plan needs to be really great.
So with with our plan, we'll have the parameters,
Yep.
our goals.
Yeah,
You know, and, I mean, I just think that it's something for all, you know, for the whole community to understand
Yep.
what our goals are for this, because it you know, wasn't big on, on information. It was like,
Yeah.
we could get this money, and
Yep.
it sounds good, and I'm going to support it. I just wanted to understand, you know, how people are picked
Sure.
and what is, you know, so at the end of it, we know this is what happened, this was a success, this was not a success.
Yep.
You know, this could, you know, and then, you know, where do we go from here type of thing. I mean, that's what I would
Yeah.
hope to find out at the
I-
end of this.
I agree with you. We could have put in the work on the front end to put together a plan before it came to you. But I wanted to make sure you were into this first. That was kind of my goal here. I have Alder Rasmussen and then Alder Martins.
Thank you. Since the committee discussed this, actually, the dialogue that I've had with residents in my district has been quite interesting, and it's really been a mixed bag. I will tell you, I've had one resident who called me that was vehemently opposed to this project or this concept, partially because he views it as a disincentive to work. I think that we were able to overcome that criteria in the Finance Committee by requiring or requesting that the criteria that be met with the dispensing of these grant funds is that the families or individuals that are selected need to be employed, that no city taxpayer funds are ever injected into this plan, and that there's no extension once it's closed out. Done is done. I mean, what it basically is a research study. We take someone else's money, we dole it out, we study the impact. Those results are sent back to the university group that's conducting the study. My guess is that study is probably to be used to inform federal lawmakers who are interested in this type of concept. Obviously, if such a thing is to be undertaken, it really has its place at the national level, not so much at the local level. But in terms of data gathering, it's good for them to gather data from a mix of different sized cities, and we are on the smaller end. Most cities that are debuting or at least trying programs like this for the data collection are big cities.
We are the smallest.
We are the smallest, and I think there's value in getting data from small communities as well, so that you don't just have this huge data sample, because our community and our people have different needs. So it is truly a research project, and I think we can assure the residents, our residents that are concerned, that we're going to make sure that people are working when they're participating, that they're providing that data to the research fellows so we can measure the impact, and that we are not going to infuse this plan with tax dollars to make it continue or to make it go. So I think that's clear. A number of other residents who've called me since this was on the news are actually very in favor of it. It's really a way for us to take $100,000 of someone else's money, put it in the pockets of struggling families in this area right now, study the impact, and done is done. So there's really no harm, no foul with helping people that are really having a hard time making it in a time where more families are struggling than ever. And I think it won't be real difficult for us to find Alice households that qualify. So thank you for bringing it forward. I think that there's a way we can do it and balance it so that we can address the concerns of those who were concerned.
And if the will of this body is that we bring the plan to you before implementing, that's fine too. I'm sure everyone will be excited about an update.
It wouldn't hurt to get a second look at it. So
Sure. Alder Martins.
Thank you. Since we discussed this in finance, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, I think we're really on the forefront of something that's really cutting edge, because since that time I've heard I've heard interviews on broadcast media. I've heard long format programs discussing this. I've seen articles in national publications talking about this, and this is before we took this up. I maybe had just a small understanding of universal income, because it was one candidate's platform for last year for the presidential run. But since we've talked about this in finance, and I've heard a lot more information about it, I've read articles and listened to radio programs. It's really a fascinating program, and something that I'm excited to be on the forefront of, because even though we're granting money to individuals with no questions asked, no strings attached, which is really just the opposite of what has been done for in providing aid and assistance. So we'll be able to craft our own criteria, craft our own outcomes, find what outcomes we want to expect, and see what happens. And if it's, I'm not going to say it's going to be a success or it's going to be a failure. I think it's going to be a success, but I think we're going to see with working with a program like this that it's just going to open up a whole new paradigm in providing aid and assistance to people that need it, and hopefully it'll work towards bridging some of that income gap.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things that the researchers who are part of this project have already seen, it's completed already in Stockton, California, and they found that 75% of the funds were spent on food and clothing. So if you're concerned about what it will be spent on, the researchers will be detailing every bit of it, and that's what they're finding right now. Alder Wadinsky.
Thank you. Before I came tonight, I had some input from constituents, and they had concerns, but now listening to Alder Rasmussen, she answered those questions before I even asked them.
Excellent.
So thank you for that. I'm going to vote in favor because of those answers.
Thank you. Okay, I saw Alder Ryan and then Alder Peckham. Sorry, everyone's waving at me. Alder Ryan. Oh, you're on mute. We're going to unmute you, or try to. We're ready for you. We don't hear you yet. Oh, all right. Oh, all right. I think you're muting while we're unmuting you.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Right.
I had mentioned to the Finance Committee that back in the mid-'90s, I was on a research project in Milwaukee in the two poorest neighborhoods called the New Hope Project, which was had a national advisory board of distinguished economics people, women and children group from Washington, D.C., and that we had over 300 people that were in the research project over a 3-year period. They were required to be working, but it also put them at 175% above the poverty level with their, even if they were working minimum wage jobs, they ended up getting some up to a stipend of almost $500. Some were less based on what their hourly rate was. And we also offered low-cost health insurance as well as daycare. So and this covered the whole family, whether they were married or not, or gay couples at that time. And so for some daycare, that could be anywhere up to like $2,500 a month for childcare, as well as hundreds of dollars for health insurance. We also had, as part of it, a community service for those that were not employed as a way to learn more and to gain experience and hopefully to get to other jobs. But back in those times, back in the late 90s, jobs that just seemed to be out of the Milwaukee area, but in like Waukesha, was Wednesdays at $9 an hour. Well, it seems like some of these service jobs are pretty flat, and we're talking about the same type of hourly wage nowadays. Back then, too, we wrote the check to the individual as a check. And monthly, we had a number of families that were moving with no address unknown. So just happens Julie Kirksick, who ran the program in Milwaukee, she's still available. I think and I gave Katie the actual data that came from this study of over 200 pages. I do think there's a way to do a debit card that may be helpful as a way to kind of look at the instructions, where back then, most of the residents that were on this research program did not have any bank accounts. They would just go and take their check and go to the check cashing place and be charged quite a hefty fee in order to get their cash. So I think there's some things that we can learn and gain a better perspective, but I also think you need to look at it to see what can we do as a 2021 version to make it better. But we're still dealing with low wages, which may be part of the issue. So I am for the project, and I was involved in the implementation way back in the 90s. And if there's anything I can do to help, I'm willing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have Alder Peckham, and then it looks like Alder Larson's hand is up.
Very good. Thank you. And I want to start out by praising the mayor for bringing us a good idea that we simply would not have known about otherwise. And I also praise her for giving us and the community enough time to kind of digest this. It could have been jumped on to our last council meeting after passage in finance, but you're wise enough to give us a little more time to consider it. I think the benefit is clear that it's $100,000 in local hands. I think there are a lot of landlords that are going to appreciate probably getting paid at a higher rate by some of the people who were unable to pay them. And I think the goal, I think we'll know, I don't know how you measure success, but I guess the success would be in the what we learned from it and what we observe. So I don't know that there's going to be any more measure than that. I do have a minor amendment for the fifth whereas, and I would move to amend that to make it a little simpler. The situation is a little more complex than is stated now, and I think we should amend that to just eliminate the last 7 words so that it would read, whereas in December 2020, the U.S. economy lost 140,000 jobs, comma, and then go to the next whereas.
All right, we have an amendment. Is anyone there to second? I have a second by Herbst. I guess the one thing I would note on this is that one of the things about guaranteed income that's important is that you're strategic in who you're helping, and they are seeing that more women have lost their jobs, and that women of color particularly have been hit hard, and some cities have used this program to target specific populations. Pittsburgh, for instance, is targeting black women specifically because their outcome measures when they're in poverty are so much worse. So I think it's worthy to note that women have lost more jobs in this economy right now, especially as they're being urged to bring elderly parents to the doctor and book vaccines and things like that. So, but we have an amendment on the table. Is there any discussion? Okay. Alder Larson, you have your hand up. Do you want to talk about this amendment, or do you want to wait and talk about the?
I just want to talk, no, I don't want to talk about the amendment.
Okay.
I just want to talk about.
All right, I will hold your comment until after we vote on this amendment. Okay.
Ryan?
Alder Ryan, we did not hear you.
Aye.
Larson?
No.
Herbst? Watson?
Nay.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Michaelini? Wadinsky?
No.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
No.
Martins?
No.
Peckham? Motion fails 5-6.
All right, so we now have the resolution as presented. Alder Larson, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. I just want to say, I applaud you for bringing this to our community and stuff, and the only word I would want to say is I have concerns from constituents that, the people be thoroughly screened for this program to make sure that they're getting a hand up instead of a handout. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion on this resolution? Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd also like to compliment the mayor for making this a reality, and my colleagues bring up some interesting points. I personally feel that success in this program, success is that the poor are left poor. I think that's an important success metric, and it's inherent within the program itself. And as colleagues had mentioned earlier, this is outside funding and not tax dollars. Much of our country is currently poor. Much of Wisconsin is currently poor, and much of Wausau is currently poor. So as we see at the city, state, and federal level, week after week or day after day, money is showered upon the rich. And I think that helping the poor and doing a study, and yes, gathering data, but more importantly, even just helping people by undertaking such a study is probably utility and a benevolent effort in and of itself. So I'm very happy to see that this is happening. I think if we're ever looking at the concept of a universal basic income, though, we have to realize that this is neither universal nor a basic income. So ultimately, if we want to look at a UBI, and thank you, Mayor, I think this is a great opportunity as a first step to see how these tactics work. But, it's been said in the past that if a UBI is effective, it may not be affordable. And if it's affordable, it may not be effective. But I think in the future, if this would gain traction with outside money, whether that be the federal government or private foundations or what have you, I'd hope that the amount and the relevant pool of recipients is greatly expanded, because I think that not enough people facing poverty will be receiving this, nor are they really getting even minimum wage, and minimum wage in this country is a pittance to begin with. So once again, thank you, Mayor. I fully support this.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion? I'm not seeing any waving, so I think we're ready to vote.
Peckham? Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wadinski?
Aye.
McElhaney? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
All right, thank you very much. We are moving on to file number 201109. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee authorizing a 2021 budget modification for priority-based budgeting software program. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Rasmussen. Do I have a second? Looking around. Second by Martins. Is there any discussion or any questions? I'm not seeing anyone. I think we're ready to go.
McElhaney? Wadinski?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
All right, thank you very much. We are on file number 201109, another resolution from the Finance Committee authorizing a 2021 budget modification for robotic survey equipment. I would entertain a motion. Motion by Herbst. Do I have a second? Second by Peckham. Is there any discussion? Yes, Alder McElhaney.
I have a quick question on the next two, which are budget mods for 2021 for DPW. I totally support both of them, but since it is February 9th, I wondered, are these things just come up, or why was the decision to place or to modify it now? I get those questions all the time from my residents. It's like, why do you do a budget if you modify them within the first month? So I just wondered if there was a logical explanation that we could give them. Thank you.
Sure. Maybe I would give Department of Public Works Director Eric Lindman I see his computer is thinking about letting him talk.
Yeah, we're using some of the funds over 2020 and moving them into 21. What to fund this role into spring, as you know, we have now, but we only have one. The other total stations that we have requires two. Improves efficiencies and stuff for us, and it's something that's going to go to next station in full GPS.
Okay, so I think we got part of that. Apparently the Wi-Fi on the southeast side isn't doing us any favors right now. I don't know. Do you have any clarity you could offer, Marianne, or no, we don't.
Not to the question of why didn't February, did they, like, why wasn't it? Yeah, I can't answer that one.
Eric, I didn't really, I didn't get it. You cut out every fifth word. But I guess, the only question I have, it isn't that, yes, these things are, anytime we can increase technology, I think is a positive. And I don't understand the crushing granite or anything. But I'm just wondering, did you not want this second one in November, or you didn't think you would have, what has changed from budgeting in 2020, for 2021 to early February 2021, that you think that this is a good purchase?
Well, for one, in the first quarter of 21, right now, and hopefully I'm coming through, is that we're getting an additional discount by ordering early in the year rather than late on this, which was part of the write-up. And really, this came from our surveyors that they wanted to move this forward. Of the year, it's on what they're being funded for, and then hopefully free capital equipment. So that's why it came now and not like in November or December.
Okay. Are there any more questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any.
Peckham? Aye. Martins?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Wodinski?
Aye.
Peccolini?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Larson?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
All right, thank you very much. Next item is file number 201109. It's a resolution from the Finance Committee authorizing 2021 budget modification for DPW material crushing activity. I would entertain a motion. I have a motion by Killian. Do I have a second? I have a second by Herbst. Is there any discussion here? I think we're ready to vote.
Peccolini? Aye. Wodinski?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Killian?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
Peckham? Ryan?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Herbst? Aye. Watson?
Aye.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Motion passes 11-0.
All right. Thankfully, here we are at the end of our agenda with public comment and suggestions. Looks like we have a suggestion from the Alder in the 1st District.
I don't really have a suggestion, but I did want to mention, I'm not sure if everybody knows it, but this is the last week for one of our city planners, Brad Sipple. I think he's done an excellent job, and I think for my sake, I think everybody should wish him well in his new position, and I think we're going to miss him. I hope we can, recruit well and get somebody as talented and dedicated as he is.
Thank you. We're definitely going to miss Brad. Any other suggestions or comments? All right, I would entertain a motion we got a motion from Wadinsky to adjourn, and we got a second for Peckham. All those in favor can signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.